It's Footy and Frothies. Round one is in the books. Daggy and Barney are with you to look back on all of it and see what we made of some interesting games over the weekend. But entertaining round. I don't think there was a boring game at all, really.
Think there was.
Ollie, of course, isn't with us. He's on lunch with his dinner with his sister-in-law, so thoughts and prayers with him. But Barney, what's the over-under on us saying the word clunky tonight?
Yeah, I've been mentioned 2 or 3 times every match, I would imagine. There was nobody that really hit the ground running. There was a bit of smooth attack occasionally, but yeah, there was a lot of times where everything fell apart there for a lot of teams.
Yeah, well,
whether it be defence or attack.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get into all of that. Now I'll just touch on a couple of quick news notes. Signing news of the big signing of the week is that Dave Fafita is not going anywhere. He's sticking with the Gold Coast Titans till 2026. Amid speculation, he's going to go to Queensland or Brisbane or Brisbane or Canberra.
Yeah.
But no, he stayed at the Titans. I suppose good for them.
Seemed a lot more interested in this game as well.
Yeah. Probably playing the Tigers helped, but anyway. So, yeah, good for them. I suppose it's just one less thing to worry about. We've also had Swiley. He recommit to the Roosters until 2026 as well, I believe, to 25 or 26. So amid all the usual speculation about who's going to play fullback in the next few years. But the crazy thought might be he might just be happy being a good centre. So
he might be. Surprising, I really thought he'd end up in the Union, go over and play a World Cup while he was still young and then come back. But, well done.
Yeah.
That's a good pickup. The bloke hasn't really set a foot wrong since he's come into the top grade. So
It's amazing when you hear the trials and tribulations of all these teams and the Roosters just
they just keep
re-sign people, sign who they want,
them off.
go and get a $500,000 front rower from Penrith, go and get a premiership winning hooker,
Didn't help them on the weekend.
Did not help them at all, which we'll get to. But that's the main signing news. I don't think there's any other massive ones we need to worry about just yet. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, not particularly. You got any injury
updates? Let's have a look. Arrow and Tavita Totola are both out this week. Hamstring for Jai Arrow. Totola's still got his head knock. Latrell's been named, watching his knee. Didn't train today, but he'll probably play through and tape it up and do
Finish
his
the
best.
game okay.
Yeah, he didn't look.
He was hobbling for 10 minutes or so, but seemed to finish the game
He does a
pretty
lot
well.
of that anyway, I think. But he's been named. I assume I don't think they would stuff around with him if you
Wouldn't think so.
if they're in doubt.
Why would you risk it at this time of the year?
Matt Lodge broke his. I think he had the same injury as Manu. Had an indented cheek or something similar. He's out for a while, for 4 to 6 weeks, I believe, at least. As is Jared Warira-Hargraves. Kieran Foran's been named. He's had another knee knock. Toby Sexton's on standby. Munster 4 weeks with his compound fracture of his finger. Came back on and played with his bone hanging out his hand, which very tough.
Probably won on the game, really.
And did probably win on the game. And Jack Williams out this week. Scott Sorensen out this week. Adam Elliott out this week. The other main injury news.
Again, HIA for all 3, was it?
All 3. Elliott's got a groin.
Oh, Elliott with the groin.
I've heard that about Adam Elliott. So,
Apparently.
good luck to him and Millie.
Gravity taking effect. Watch out.
Oh, look at that. It's a whirlwind look through the news. Suspension. Jordan Rapinoe got reported for the 3rd time in 3 games for knocking someone's head off again. He's got 3 weeks.
I was going to say, did they find him again or what?
No, he's having 3 weeks off.
Oh.
I don't think there's too many other big...
Graham's
Wade
fighting
Graham's
his
going to fight
charge,
his.
apparently, yeah.
Interesting one. Not so much that one. There was another one in that Sharks game, the head clash earlier.
Finucane,
which the same thing happened in the Panthers game to Hosking, one of the forwards, and he got off with nothing. So I'm more thinking of Finucane one than the Graham one. Graham one's interesting. He left the ground. He didn't. It was ruled as a head clash. It did cost him a penalty, but
I think first contact was probably the sternum, but it did end up hitting him on the bottom of the chin. So I find it pretty hard for I'm guessing they're challenged to get in. They're hoping for a downgrade for 1 or 2 weeks rather than copping the full 3. But
yeah,
I don't think he gets off. I'm
I
pretty sure he gets
I think
a couple of weeks
probably
minimum.
gets the 3 weeks off.
Yeah.
As
Might
well,
be 4 now if they're going to fight it. But
and a bunch of for the sake of completion, Egan Butcher got a fine. Kyle Felt got a fine. Nakora $3,000 fine for a shoulder charge. Hamlin-Ueli, 1,800. And then Elliott and Katoa have both claimed their fines as well. So that's
Okay.
all the judiciary news.
Nakura got one as well, pretty sure.
Nakura, yeah, 3,000. It was the biggest lot for a shoulder charge, grade 1. Yeah, look at that. Well, we look through your news. I don't think there's much else to really touch on.
We can think of.
So we may as well get straight into it. Check out rugbyleaguemerch.com, of course, rugbyleaguemerch.com.au. You can buy some of these fine-looking hats, some shirts, steins, cups, coasters, all sorts of good stuff going on there. Go and check that out. And PCTC's underway, so I guess we'll touch on that later when we get to our preview show. We kicked off 16-12. Melbourne defeated Parramatta in an entertaining game, Barney.
Yes.
I'll let you have the first word. Are you doing your full stats? Or are we going to have a new look at stats?
Crack down at the stats. I've dropped one or two little things, just missed tackles and that kind of stuff. But it was 2 tries to Parramatta, 3 to the Melbourne Storm. 1 out of 2 conversions played, 2 out of 2 for Melbourne. 2 missed field goal attempts, and 1 out of 1 penalty attempts for Parramatta. 36 out of 45 sets played, 38 out of 48. 200 plus running metres for Melbourne. 3 line breaks to 5. 37 tackle busts for Parramatta, 30 for Melbourne. 16 offloads to 13. 1 forced dropout to Parramatta, 2 for Melbourne. 0 40-20s. 337 tackles played, 404. 2 ruck infringements to 1. 6 penalties conceded from both teams. Hopgood with 57 tackles. Grant with 59. Paulo and Meany both ran for 208 running metres. Top 3 Supercoach scores for this game were Paulo on 103, Hopgood on 101, and Josh King on 96 for the Melbourne Storm.
All were awesome. All very, very good.
Fantastic.
My immediate takeaway from this game, it's early in the season, but this felt a lot like a very good bottom of the top 8 game rather than a elite game to me. Watching this further, I'll just quietly, Mitch Moses 14 Supercoach points. It didn't help me one little bit.
I think if you look back over the weekend, it probably stacks up as one of the better games.
I think so.
But, yeah.
So maybe some teams aren't as good as we may have figured, but it felt like look, we had the reserve grade back rowers trying to step out and make a game. I thought looked pretty good. Jermaine Hopgood, we may as well start with him. Outstanding performance. I wouldn't be surprised if he jumps the likes of your Tom Gilberts and ends up on that Queensland bench.
Didn't stop, did he?
Just
nailed everything.
Enormous amount of work.
50 on the
tackles.
ball.
Was in the right spot. When they get Madison back, I think, and Lane back, like all of a sudden they're looking all right. That said, I thought Dory was pretty good too. I think probably did enough to nail down.
Definitely made an impact, especially early in the game. Yeah. Seemed to tire a little bit towards the back end, but.
What's your main takeaway here? I'll let you.
Well, I thought Parramatta were pretty dominant for a good half an hour, probably most of the first half, realistically, and probably should have skipped away with a few more points. But they were let down by some of their options on the edges. They looked fantastic, especially after about the first 10 minutes was just the general arm wrestle that you get out of most games. But then Parramatta started playing some second phase off their forwards, and they looked really good there for probably the next 15 minutes. And they were causing all sorts of problems around the ruck, and then they started to stretch Melbourne on both sides of the field. But Melbourne's scramble was really good in that first half. They probably did save 2 tries in that first half that would have gone through a different defensive team.
I still feel like Parra probably should. I'll be honest, Parra should have won this game by probably 12 points. And I feel like their halves were missing for a lot of it.
Oh, especially the second half of the game.
Yeah, when they could have iced that game, they didn't. And then by that time, enough time had passed where, and to Ollie's credit, he did stamp it and say Harry Grant would win the game, and he did. Yep. And then by the time we got into the deeper water in the back end, it was Munster and Harry, and they were just doing what they wanted for a while there over those forwards. But Dylan Brown's last tackle options are pretty average at best.
Made a lot of errors early in the game as well.
Got buried and fell into a bit of the Roosters thing. Had gotten buried away in the corners a bit, and not quite sure of some of his decisions where he's running. And Moses added, but what did he add? Not very much at all.
Ran across the field basically.
Yeah.
Put in a kick every now and then. Dylan Brown went for a 10-minute period there where he dropped every second ball that was passed to him.
And the one he did it, he kicked one out. I think it was one out in the full, or it was either one awful kick that went backwards. And anyway,
both teams defended really well, especially in the first half, to keep the game as close as they could. But the start of the second half, Parramatta looked like they'd already played a game and a half. Like they were completely dead on their feet for. And I think that's got a lot to do with that interchange rotation. Obviously, they had their better forwards off the field, and
as I didn't realise till after, I think Dana pointed it out. Makatoa didn't take the field. So.
Yeah, didn't play a minute. And,
which is bizarre for a bench forward to.
He has a habit of doing it too.
But I can understand a bench back. Like we see Desi did it forever. We've seen coaches do it with their back, but to not have Makatoa,
especially when they
15 minutes.
The first probably 10 minutes of the second half and the last 10 or 15 minutes, they looked really flat and tired in the middle of the field. And that's when Harry Grant popped out of the ground and just started running amok through the middle of the field. Every time there was a lazy marker or sort of a gap in behind the ruck, they targeted that and just ran through there at will at some point. And then you had Munster and Hughes on the back of it chasing down Harry after he'd make half a break, get a quick play the ball, and then it all just happened after that. They were very scrappy in the start of the second half. There's some very poor decisions, again, from both Parramatta halves for the entirety of the game, whereas Melbourne, probably at the start of the game, they didn't make a lot of great decisions out of their halves, but by the end of the game, they were on the back of Harry Grant, which we mentioned, were carving Parramatta up through the middle of the field. You already mentioned the interchange for Parramatta. I don't know why you would leave a bench forward on and not play him at all. I thought Penasini, Cartwright, and Regan Cameron Gillard were some of their better players on the day. And Hopgood and Paulo were outstanding for Parramatta. They were easily the two best players out in the field for Parramatta. But Meaney and Tonamapia were decent for the Melbourne side.
Defensive decisions as a fullback were as good as we saw all weekend.
Yeah.
Because when we get to some later games, there was some average, there were some awful ones, to be honest, later.
Yeah, absolutely.
And cost their team games, whereas his defence was on point. He shut down a lot early, didn't give a lot of bombs chance to hit the ground, and shut down just about every short kick that came through. So I thought he was fantastic defensive-wise.
Nelson and Christian Welsh, while they probably didn't better their opposition, they were as good and kept it competitive with the Parramatta forwards. Already mentioned that their halves were okay, but Harry Grant and Josh King were their two best players on the field, and Josh King did just all that work that nobody else wants to do, and he did just the same as Hopgood, just cover tackles and hit-ups, consistent hit-ups, and Grant was the one who took advantage of the work that he did, and with the ruck getting slow, and blew the game apart at the back end, especially that last 15 minutes
absolutely.
or so. He was everywhere.
That was the Harry show.
Yeah.
Even the try, Munster had the try score, your try assist where he showed and went, was on the back of that ruck speed and having that extra time and space, as we put on a shirt this year. And your face was just, come with us now on a journey through time and space. Let's talk about the whale in the bay. Josh Hodgson?
Yeah, right. Well, I thought his first half an hour was quite good. He looked like he was,
good overall.
Getting involved. And
I thought it took him a while to get back into it, but he managed 84 minutes.
He seemed to tire towards the back end of the game, but Flaker hasn't played for 2 years. What do you expect? But he actually looked like he was making quite a good impact, especially in the first half of the game. His service was good, not as quick as some.
Started real flat, but I think that's just him. I think Parra are going to have to get used to the flatter service rather than Reed's sort of quicker service. But.
Yep. And a couple of nice little kicks, and he's quite good in defence as well. So I think, the question marks we had around him aren't as big as what we thought they might be, but obviously still on the watch list.
42 tackles too, so and missed 3, so you can't, no effort there. Nothing I can knock there. I should say. I think if you're a Parra fan, I just think he's a different player to Reed, and I don't think he necessarily suits their halves yet.
Right, which doesn't help.
But I think if you're a Parra fan, you shouldn't be unhappy with what he put out first up.
I think he's quite good, you're not going to have the lightning running game that some of the guys have had, but you're going to get decent service with your forwards, and the halves might have to either learn to play a little bit flatter or a little bit deeper. whether they're going to, take the contact in the line and try to play out the line, or they're going to have to go a little bit deeper and play that second later with a bit of slower service than what they were copping last year. So.
I'm still sort of taking your opinion. These are your 6, 7, 8 teams rather than your top 4. But that's not to say some of those top 4, I thought, if we saw 2 of them get beat, won't be down on that same level yet.
No,
so,
of course.
I think we, as a rule for 4 years, we tend to stick our sort of flags in the ground a bit early on some teams, and change them. And as you know, end of the day, we're allowed to watch and learn and make opinions and change our mind as well. But what's your ultimate takeaway on these 2 teams?
Yeah, much the same as you. Somewhere between probably 5th and 8th, but I thought they were both quite good. Obviously, they both have depth issues with their backup rotations in the forwards.
Realistically, no Munster for a month. They could drop who are they playing. They could drop 3 of those games, and then they're clawing to get back up towards the 8 rather than camping in it.
Yeah, absolutely. But you look through most of the sides, like even some of the teams that we had down as teams that are probably not going to end up going that well at the end of the year, their starting 17 is quite solid. You know what I mean? It really comes down to that depth and that rotation that you get, the impact that you get from your players coming off the bench. So, yeah, I think that's going to be a very noticeable thing towards give it 5 or 6 weeks and you start getting a bit of tired legs and injuries and stuff like that. You're going to see the teams with the depth and the
we've seen their depth exposed last year. They don't have anything up their sleeve that we haven't seen. Your Lauriers of the world, Alec McDonald, they're fine. They're okay what they do. But after Warbrick, you're going to have Grant Anderson, these sort of blokes, and they're not coming in as unheralded stars that we don't know about yet. So.
No, correct.
And no Pappy for 3 months. So, yeah, I think once they get Lane, is Lane gone for the season? No, 8 weeks.
No, broken jaw.
So once you get Lane and Madison back, if you parry, you're probably okay. You move on and you'll be okay. Because then all of a sudden their bench is Cartwright.
Maybe Hopgood,
Dory,
depending on what they do.
I wouldn't be taking Hopgood off.
No,
I'd put Maddo back to an edge with Lane. All of a sudden you go,
they're probably scrapping.
Wacker Blake was actually pretty good in defence,
rather than,
Yeah.
It's probably scrapping for that 4th spot rather than 6, 7, or 8. But
any final words?
No, not in this game. It was, as I said, probably one of the better games of the weekend, and I think Parramatta probably threw it away. I think they probably should have won this game.
I agree. The final word for me is if Parramatta halves turn up, they probably win this by 10 or 12.
The halves just didn't seem to
They
get
should have
involved.
been ahead at half time, 10 or 12.
Last half an hour. But even in the last half an hour of the game, that was there to be taken.
Yeah.
Just
Gutho tried hard.
weren't following the ball there.
But we'll see what they bring this week. Yeah, got some they've got a tough draw, the Eels, so we have to see them step up at some point. And this is the thing, what scares you a bit as a Para fan, and I don't mind bagging Para so much because Para fans hate Para more than everyone else does, and themselves. So there is that little element of, hey, Brown's just signed an 8-year contract. Apparently Moses is going to be on a 4 or 5 year contract. From what we've heard, is this the level you just accept your mediocrity for the next few years and they'll all run around and run 6th or 7th, not enough to get sacked, but enough to think you got hope? Like, it is what it is for Para.
No, well, they're putting this is them trying to stamp themselves as being a contender, realistically. If you're throwing that kind of money at your halves, you want to be expecting that you're going to be contending for the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. And maybe they're not wrong because ultimately the halves pool's very shallow. Like they went and found Hopgood, who's we've just said is a star, or will be a star.
They've got their fullback signed as well for a few years. I'm pretty sure Gutho signed up for a couple
last
of years.
Year he had
so realistically, they're looking at trying to probably find a young hooker coming through and then refresh the back row or their interchange and go from there. But
they'll end up pinching one of Penrith's backup hookers, Summerton or Smith or someone.
Probably.
Anyway, get to do the Daggy M's now.
Yeah.
Tony Cools, he's off. See you, Tony. Very good. I'll be good at it. Thanks, mate. See ya. We'll just ground the show to a halt to say goodbye to the great Tony Cools. Dalium, actually, we didn't mention in the news. Dalium's now gone to a 6-vote system. Okay. 2 independent judges who we'll never know who they are, but put in votes independently to try and avoid any of the weird votes which spawned the Daggy M, which we get to vote on. I'm saying 3 to Harry, 2 to Hopgood.
He doesn't score the last try. Hopgood gets it, but Harry sneaks in that
and
last try.
And I was thinking RCG, Munster, King.
I had King or Paulo. I thought Paulo had a big, the try there where he put Parramatta back in front and did a lot of work in the middle of the field. And Josh King probably did more work than just about anyone apart from Hopgood. So they were my 2 for the 1 point.
Let's give it to Josh King. He's the one that would have gone under the radar, I reckon, in the votes. Josh King, 1 point. Thank you, GT. Friday night, I'll just mention, as I'm fiddling around with my roadcast, apologies to everyone that didn't hear me for about 5 minutes on the on last week's show when I'd muted myself and forgot to turn myself off. No one else to blame but me, so sorry about that. I'll get better with that, I suppose. We get to Friday night, the 6 p.m. game over in New Zealand. The Warriors 20 defeated the Knights 12 in it was a fine game of footy.
It was. A lot of attack early in the game, which sort of petered out to a few errors and that at the back end of the game. But, it was quite competitive for the large part of it. Couple of HIAs and sin bin, and a couple of HIAs didn't help Newcastle, and a sin bin as well, which sort of puts you on the back foot when you get bloke who's out of, I think, what was it, Frizzell was out of the game after about 10 minutes or so.
10 or 15, yeah.
And then Ponga's taken off for the last 10, and you get a sin bin thrown in there as well. It's not gonna help your cause.
14, in fact, yeah.
Yeah. But Warriors were quite good.
Yeah.
They looked very effective through the middle of the field. That forward pack really rolled through the middle. Yeah, so we had 4 tries for the Warriors, 2 to Newcastle. 2 out of 4 conversions played 2 out of 2. 34 out of 39 sets played 33 out of 42. 245 plus running metres for the Warriors. 8 line breaks to 2. 31 tackle busts to 32. 9 offloads for New Zealand. 4 for the Knights. 1 force drop out to 3. 0 40-20s. 323 tackles played, 325. 2 ruck infringements to 1. 4 inside the 10 to 3. 8 penalties conceded from both teams. 8 errors to 10. Sin bin for Newcastle. Tohu Harris made 51 tackles. Jaden Brayley made 49. Chance Nickel-Clockstad with 204 running metres and Lachlan Miller with 181. Supercoach points, Egan with 99, Harris with 88, and Sean Johnson and Fitzgibbon both on 74.
Beautiful. Yeah, you're saying the Warriors forwards look quite good. I agree. I actually thought first half Warriors could have been up by much, much more than they were.
Yep, absolutely they could have.
Where do you want to start?
Sort of got broken down.
Or do you want to start
the
with
play
Sean
seemed
Johnson?
to break down on the edges a little bit. Took him a long time to get into this game, Sean Johnson.
Some of his ended tackles. You know, actually, now I'm just thinking about this. We just talked about the Para halves. I'm going to bag the Tigers halves later. Maybe it's just round 1, and maybe a lot of these teams are in. I feel like we're going to say this. Clunky is going to come up again. Ding. We're going to talk about how. But I thought, look, it's almost a big 6 weeks for Sean Johnson because.
Did end up on 74 Supercoach points. I think he had a try assist.
He had a nice pass, I think, late in the game.
A line break and a few tackle busts there.
But some of his kicking was
running the ball.
Average at best. Tamari looked fine, though.
He is their only kicking option, though, which doesn't help. I don't think anybody else had a kick in this game for the Warriors side, which
no.
You know, there's going to be a lot of pressure coming his way for the majority of the year. So makes it very hard. Whether Egan tries to take over a little bit of the kicking to create a second option.
He's got a decent short kicking. I don't know what he adds outside of like with the long kicking game. I don't think he's going to kick a 40-20 like a Reed or someone like that may. But
even kicking early on sets and kicking in behind the wingers that are up a bit fuller or whatever, and just take that sort of a bit of that kicking pressure off Sean Johnson.
Yeah, 1 kick from Tamari for 5 metres.
There you go. Couple of nice touches from Ponga early in the game to set up the first 2 tries that Newcastle scored. Nice little short ball to Fitzgibbon for the first one, and nice little bat on to the winger to score their second try. There's some promising signs there, obviously, at the front. And his defence didn't look too out of place, defending in the front
11
line.
tackles, 1 miss, and ineffective.
They probably could have put a bit more traffic at him during the game. If I'm sure other teams will, but he was, more than competitive, and he looked like he was just starting to warm up before he copped the HIA and had to go off for the last 10 or 11 minutes as well. So I think he may have just dragged him back to within a couple of points if he did stay on the field there. But, probably a bit of better outing than I expected out of Ponga come round one.
I don't think we had any concern over his attacking ability. It was more the defensive output, but we'll know more as we go on.
You got sweet FA help off one Hastings.
Yeah. He didn't miss too many, Jackson, but you mean attacking wise?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it looks.
Seemed to add absolutely zero.
I have a lot of time for Jackson Hastings from what I've seen. I don't know him, but from what I saw last year, from how he buys into a club, from what he wants to be and tries to do. But the back end of...
Holy jeebus. Backfire?
Right there. Back end of last year in the... was it Cracker?
That's real bunger.
Back end of last year and... back end of last year, and again in this game, I don't use the word roadblock, but he tends to touch the ball for the sake of touching it a lot, and it's... I don't know if it's, you're better off just letting a second row be and having that touch. Like other teams, and I watched this and thought, you know what, watching this, maybe Tim Sheehan was right in saying he plays he probably does play like Cam Murray or as AU does.
Yep.
And I'm assuming that's what Sheen saw last year and wasn't happy with. Fine, whatever, we did. Cool. But I think I'd like to see a bit more flair. Doesn't take the line on a heap. He's, for a big body, I think he could be... I don't think he scored a try last year, but like someone who could take the line on. His defence is fantastic. He's as good a defensive half in the game. But kicks were okay. Like that sort of half bomb kick to the edge is something he likes. Wasn't a great... Not many asked questions, though.
No, there wasn't.
So
yeah,
what do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with all of that. Did not really... especially with his ball playing there, I don't think he threw a pass that challenged the defence at all.
No.
It was generally just catch and shovel on to somebody else. The only other real attacking point of attack that I saw apart from Ponga was Lachlan Miller, who had a couple of really nice touches, but wasn't as involved in attack as he was in the couple of games he played for the Sharks last year. I think he did have to do a lot of work in defence, just being in the right position off the kicks. And he did that quite well, which was something that I was obviously on the lookout for with a bloke going into fullback for the first time in the NRL, where you position yourself in defence. And I thought he did that quite well. So there's some signs there that he could be a big add into this squad. A couple of weeks down the track once he finds his feet. But,
you'd almost like to see Hastings taking the line on and trying to go left and right and having either one of them chime in both sides and trying to create that bit of space, draw someone in to get...
Absolutely. Even have him, as you said, play more like a lock and run that ball half the time rather than just sort of...
Like it's a lot of dummy half to him and then that's it. Just and it happens 80 times a game and that's it. Yeah. Let's talk about Chance. How good was he?
First game back, considering he missed a whole heap of time for the Raiders.
He looks like he slimmed down. He was a bigger body. Maybe it's a flattering jersey. I'm sure he was a bigger body for Canberra. His defensive decisions were fantastic.
But almost every time there was half a break, he was on the inside or the outside of the guy who was carrying the ball, which is exactly what you want out of your fullback.
I thought he was sensational.
Yeah, I thought he was fantastic as well. He's not going to burn people with speed and footwork, but he's always going to be in that right position. And as you said, defensively as well, he was fantastic. I don't think he put a foot wrong all night. Ended up scoring a try as well, which is what you want out of your fullback. Again, just through backing up and being in the right position. I thought Daniel Saifidi was probably the best forward, or him and Fitzgibbon were the best two forwards for Newcastle.
Pat in the back, I did get $38 first try scorer.
Lachlan Fitzgibbon, happy days. Brayley was one of their better ones as well. He made a whole heap of tackles, but just I'd like to see him just being a little bit more involved in the attacking play for Newcastle. Leo Thompson was okay off the bench. I thought Bunty Afol was fantastic for the Warriors coming off the bench.
Bunty is a great bet every week.
Another one scored a try.
Anytime try scorer.
Yeah, barged over.
He'll have that crash play, and he'll score every third week, and he'll probably get anytime $5 or $6. And
First 20 minutes, Jackson Ford looked like he was going to be man of the match, and then sort of faded away towards the back end of the game. But had a very big impact early. He was making causing all sorts of problems on the edges of the play of the ball when he had ball in hand. You mentioned Chance. I thought Johnson was decent by the end of the game, even though he got off to a bit of a rough start.
Now, we're going to get to the votes, and we're going to mention Tohu Harris in the votes.
Absolutely.
Would you like to talk about him before we forget? He's a freak. He's an
coming.
absolute freak. Okay, sorry.
I had Fanua Blake and Barnett. Fanua Blake did his job, and they didn't go outside of sort of his job description. He just got through his work. Barnett and Egan were fantastic. They're really strong. Egan is one of...
Egan might be the most underrated player in the game almost.
He is really good at unlocking that play of the ball.
Yeah.
When he leaves early and draws defenders.
Tough as Cowboys' boots.
He's got a little bit of an offload in him as well when somebody grabs hold of him. And, yeah, Tohu Harris was the best player on the field by a mile.
Like, absolutely outstanding. For a bloke, I think he's 34 now, 33, 34. I was in awe of when there's some games you just watch, and we love watching the middle forwards and
but nobody stops him. Like he doesn't just get stopped dead and put on his back. He's always carrying people with him. He's got an offload.
Yeah.
He hits in defence as well. He doesn't just make a tackle.
No.
They know that he's...
But then when he wants to, he can be that link player.
Yeah,
and has beautiful...
He's got soft hands. Got a very good short ball to put people away.
I'm glad we're in that accordance here because I wasn't going to fight you because he's getting 3 points.
He's getting 3 points.
And so we just need to pay tribute to the superstar that he is. Absolutely amazing. Anything we haven't touched on in this game? Look, end of the day, do both clubs walk away okay? Newcastle fans will feel disgruntled that Ponga cost them the game. And perhaps they're not wrong, but I think realistically, if Warriors were flowing early, they probably score another couple of tries. So it's a...
Yeah, to me, it probably just cemented my thoughts on the Knights forward pack, to be honest.
Yeah.
Elliott didn't really have much of an impact when he came on. Obviously, if he was carrying a groin injury during parts of the game, that goes part way of explaining what happened there. But
I don't remember Jack Hetherington touching the ball.
No. As I mentioned, Daniel Saifidi and Lachlan Fitzgibbon were the best two on the ground, and that was because they had a couple of nice balls and were able to get on the outside of people and make line breaks, tackle busts, that kind of thing, which obviously bumps up their stats, but they really don't have a lot outside of 2 or 3 of their forwards that are going to come on and have much of an impact in a lot of games, and I think it's going to cost them a lot of games during the year.
And Warriors we've got the points here. Ollie was quite bullish they're going to run last. We weren't.
Yes.
I think they'll be fine. Once they get their flow on, they'll be better. They're going to match or dominate a lot of forward packs. And if their spine gets coherency, the thing is they can play the games where it's going to be 18-16 and win those sort of games. I don't think they're going to blow teams off the park, but they'll be in that arm wrestle a long time. I
think they still need a little bit more, a few more attacking options, I think, just to...
Even a Metcalf off the bench, even if you get Johnson, it might add you that.
Or even, because T. Martin, with a few errors early, sort of didn't get hugely involved until the Warriors were really flowing and getting over that advantage line. So... if he plays one of his better games, that obviously adds a hell of a lot more options to their play. But
it's the first time they played together too. Yeah. The Johnson didn't play the trials, so it's it might be and it probably the same as anyone else. Your kid coming in playing against.
There'll be games they score 30, 40 points. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I'd just like to see it happen a little bit more often.
There'll be and I think the games they do will be when the outside backs really smash some blokes.
And I think that comes down to the ball playing from the halves. So they just need to be that little bit crisper. But it's round one.
I think tomorrow would have come with this going. I'm going to let
happy.
the senior bloke run the show here, but that'll come. Yeah. The points, like I said, they'll be happy. I think pretty confident sticking with what we said that they're going to be around that sort of 10 to 12 mark. And Newcastle, I just want to see up. I don't see upside yet.
No,
they get Gago back. And this is what we get. This is Newcastle. 3 points to Tohu. 2 to Chance. Where do you go next?
I had 2 for Egan.
Okay.
And then I had either Barnett or Chance. But
I think I think he was fantastic.
Had a bit more impact on the game.
Whereas
Barnett just worked his ass off as he does.
Yeah. So, all right, 3 to Tohu, 2 to Egan, 1 to Chance. 13-12. the old Dagster got the margin right, but the wrong side of the coin came down when I stuck with Penrith. As Brisbane defeated the Panthers, who have now lost 2 straight at Bluebet Stadium and not been able to score more than 12 points in either. Do you want to do stats first, or do you want to bag them first?
Yeah, sure. Don't want to bag them too much. I thought Brisbane were fantastic, but yeah, we had 2 tries apiece, 2 out of 2 conversions for both sides, a missed 2-point field goal attempt for Penrith, and 1 out of 1 field goal attempts for Brisbane. 36 out of 46 sets played, 33 out of 43, 425 plus running metres for Penrith. 2 line breaks for both teams, 37 tackle busts to Penrith, 33 to Brisbane, 9 offloads to 4, 3 forced dropouts to 2. So they did all the little things right. They just couldn't make it pay at the end of the day. 1 ruck infringement to Penrith, 5 to Brisbane, 5 penalties conceded to 4, 0 inside the 10, 11 errors to Penrith, 12 to Brisbane. Yo made 54 tackles, Carrigan made 50, Edwards with his traditional 200 plus with 289 running metres, and Payne Haas, who I thought was tremendous in this game with 207 running metres. Supercoach points, Liam Martin on 80, Herbie Farnworth with 76, and Carrigan with 73.
Where do we start here? Where do you start?
Yeah, well, very interesting game of footy. A lot of back and forward, especially through the middle of the field, but I thought the Broncos controlled a large part of this game.
I actually thought the first 10 minutes the Penrith pack were dominant, and then once that wrestle just came back, it went the other way, and pretty quickly. Until Leniu came on.
Brisbane really went out of their way to target in behind the markers and in behind the back of the play of the ball, which got them a lot of quick play the balls and a lot of Penrith on the back foot in defence, which was quite interesting to see. Penrith's line speed was nothing like it was the last 2 years. Even in the World Club Challenge, their line speed, I don't know what's happened there, but it's dropped off dramatically, I thought, in these last 2 games.
But both sides, their attacking ruck speed was not. Mitch Kenny was a lot to do with that, as we flagged early on. And I don't get stuck in that bloke, but it felt like their play the ball speed was slower. There was a lot more. There was no flow for Penrith.
Sort of catch the ball. What are we doing next? Rather than just being that well-oiled machine.
Until Sonny Luke came on, which we'll get to later, I'm sure. I thought the Brisbane forwards were fantastic. I thought Payne Haas was he is an absolute superstar, but for what he does week in, week out, and he looked bigger than anyone else in the field. Yep. The big wide shoulders and the long legs, and that he just dominated through those middle stages. And Carrigan was with him. They love that tag team of those two, and well, why wouldn't you? But they had that support. Flegler, when he came on, was good, I thought.
The goal line defence was fantastic.
Well, they shut
Penrith
down.
had quite a few
opportunities
opportunities on the goal line.
So was that on? Is that more on? For some reason, Penrith. It's like Penrith just watched South's tapes the whole off season, because their one play seemed to be, we'll just go left. We'll go. Oh, Billy's not there. And poor old Luke Garner, who is much smaller than I
seemed to get bashed
realised,
out of the game.
but he got bashed out of the game, and their answer was then to put Jamin Seven on, who's smaller.
And then they started running at him as well.
But it was like that. But I think they've just jerried early. Once Luai was going, it's going to end up in the wingers' hands because, well, they can just. Generally they had faith in covering Garner, so you just will double team the winger because in the past kick-out takes 2 with him and flicks one away or whatever. There was no fears, and whether that's something that's just exaggerated because kick-out wasn't there, or whether it's something that was more apparent, I'm not sure. What do you think?
I'm pretty sure that it's exactly what you see is what you get.
I
don't think they held many fears at all with Garner running the ball, and they basically knew that they could just man-on-man out in that corner, and then as soon as he looks like passing it, just slide off him because he's probably not going to beat you on the inside. So
no. Like I said, I thought he was a bigger body than he presented in that side. But Crichton tried too hard. I think he tried to take it himself a few. This Penrith team felt like a team that hadn't trained together for 3 months. There was a lot of, especially late in the set, Nathan's got it now. Let's all stand around because he's going to do something. Or if it's not him, Jerome's got it now. Let's all stand around because he's going to do something. Or Crichton's got it now. Let's all stand around.
He missed a lot of Taylor May. Like, I know he's only been there for 12 months. But it was always Taylor May first, Toto second. 8, 10, 12 metres, both of them. Quick play the balls. And that gets the roll as well. So it doesn't matter if your service isn't as crisp out of dummy half. especially early in the
Because you've
game.
got 20 metres up your sleeve.
And you're on a roll, and the defence is on the back foot.
Yeah.
Whereas it was sort of To'o, and they'd sort of track him across to the middle of the field, slow it down, and then a forward, and it just wasn't that roll through the middle of the field that you've known from Penrith from the last couple of years. And that affects, especially when your dummy half service isn't as good as it has been.
Yeah.
It really makes it stand out.
It felt to me that was the most I've ever seen Cleary and Luai tackled in a game.
Yeah,
They
absolutely.
ran the ball a lot because they just got it, went, oh.
Even
amazing.
Yo getting sort of trying to link up and getting hit from the side rather than, choosing to run into the line. He was sort of getting ambushed a bit and hit on that on the angle.
Yeah.
So
Liam Martin was good, though.
Liam Martin
was probably their best player, realistically.
I would say so.
Fish was his usual self, but I think about the only two I'd even want to wrap from Penrith. But Brisbane were out. Like, Brisbane can, I'm not saying they will be, can be a top 4 team, I think. Their effort was outstanding.
Yeah, they can be. Absolutely, they can be.
Their line, as you said, their goal line defence was brilliant. They had, I think they just had confidence in themselves. Yeah, right. We do know we've got this left swing covered. So
well, you saw what they did all year, like for 3/4 of the year last year until they fell into a hole. They were one of the more competitive teams. They were beating the better sides.
Yeah,
and they lost a couple to teams they shouldn't have lost to, and then they fell in a hole at the end of the year. What that all comes down to, who knows? I dare say it was probably a fitness thing, more so than anything else.
Well, like I said, you know my theory that I think the gas tank was
niggles and.
No, I just think they were up and they were fit.
You lose Carrigan for a month
peaked
with
too
the
early.
hip drop.
Peaked too early. In that, Kevy had to justify his job at the start of the year rather than the end of the year. And now, if they can taper that better, get through Origin, keep Haas fit, keep Carrigan fit.
Reynolds
keep Reynolds fit is a key. He was actually very, very good. He was outstanding.
Fantastic. He was cool as. He just put Penrith where he wanted him, kick after kick. His passing game was fantastic as well. I thought he was one of the better players on the field, Reynolds. I thought he was fantastic.
even when he took the field goal, like I was sitting there, I said, if I was like, they should be taking one now.
And he set himself off to the side to make it look like he was going to run.
Yeah, literally the next play, he slotted it. Cool. And we love Herbie, but we probably forgot about him in pre-season a little bit.
Good footwork.
But
really
footwork, pace and footwork. And you know what? He's putting Stags to shame.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Stags has gone from playing for New South Wales last year, where you're going to get to the stage, I would be starting to ask questions whether I would be moving Cobbo into the centres and trying to get Jesse Arthurs back in this team, or Tristan Saylor.
Arthurs was there on the weekend.
But they got Cobbo's back to the wing now while she's back. He did fuck all in this game, politely. He did complete fuck all.
He made 2 good hits in defence, and that was about it, I'm pretty sure.
Now I've said it, he'll
brain it
tear
next
the Cowboys
week.
apart. But I'd like to see that. But it's now been a long time since I've seen it.
Yeah. You just have to say, you probably have to give Cleary a rap. He wasn't dominant by any means, but he did his job more than the rest of them as well. And Yo does what he does most weeks, so they're probably, as you mentioned, the only ones you want to mention. Haas, Carrigan and Reynolds were just outstanding in this game. They were the 3 big ones for this Brisbane side. Got them on the front foot, kicked the front door down, and Reynolds just orchestrated the attack from there. So,
what do you make of Selwyn at fullback?
Yeah, good. Had some really nice touches. Big, strong runner of the ball, obviously. I don't remember any howlers or any.
He got bundled in touch twice, I think, but
running towards the sideline in the wet.
Probably could have. Yeah. But apart from that, he ran down 200 metres.
He's going to run around the outside of somebody. I don't remember him being out of position too many times for the kick or anything like that.
Yeah.
So definitely a pass mark. It's probably their best option there without Reece Walsh. So.
And we haven't seen the best of Ezra yet.
No. Definitely not.
You can smell it. You can see it's coming. There's going to be a game he'll score a hat trick.
He's always a threat.
Because he loves that run. He loves picking, and he's big boy, so he likes just going. You can tackle me.
And the defensive line do panic when he gets
it takes
close.
2 or 3 with him. Yeah. There'll come a game where he'll meet a team and he'll score a hat trick, and he'll look like an absolute superstar. I think
he definitely questions the defence every time he's got the
which
ball.
I like, and because he goes, well, my job's not to kick, but it's not to be around. Reynolds does it all, so I'm going to.
Run into the line and promote.
And he's got some nice short ball. He's got some nice
ball
passes too.
Nice little grubber.
I, as you know, I've been bullish on this team for a couple of years, and I think they can be the one that climbs into the top 4 out of all of them. So And they just beat the Premiers, so
Absolutely.
proof's in the pudding. Anything else you can take away from this game?
Yeah, no, I think we pretty well covered everything.
Sonny Luke.
Made a difference.
Well, lifted their tempo immediately. I want to temper
You
that.
can't be leaving him on the bench for 50 minutes.
Yeah, I'll temper it by saying he came on against a forward back that most of them had been on the field the whole time. So he was flattered a little bit, but he lifted the whole structure just seemed to lift the pace there. What we talked about, the speed, line speed, everything.
Ball was getting outside the A defenders that bit quicker.
He's got to be playing at least 45 minutes, if not. And he's older. Like, I didn't realise he was the same age as he came through with everyone else. So if he's good enough, get him in there. Get him in and play him. Anything else on him?
And it's interesting what you do with Kenny then. But, yeah, I really think by the end of the season they need him to be playing 80 minutes.
Yeah.
Kenny can either be a bench forward or go back to reserve grade. But
Go back to it. And then you've got the thing where I think they've probably got better 18-year-old, 19-year-olds once he's a bench player.
option at hooker.
Like Riley Smith's,
okay.
Summerton we saw. Is Summerton a hooker?
The hooker,
Just looking through. No. Big tick for Brisbane.
Expected Penrith to start slow. Still don't think they're going to snap into it for a couple of weeks. But
Nostradamus, sitting back here, having in our pre-season said that a couple of weeks in, Penrith fans will be not happy.
But I also said Brisbane to get smacked for 4 weeks or 5 weeks.
Okay,
that didn't happen.
Well, you got one. You got half, right? But yeah, well done. You sort of saw Penrith coming. I've half got a feeling I want to see Penrith do it before I even want to tip them again.
I think I was
given their draw as well.
To be honest, just dirty on the way that Brisbane fell apart at the back end of last year.
I think everyone was. I think everyone's tainted a bit. And as you know, round 14, I sat here last year and said they'll win the comp when they destroyed Para at Para. And they're capable of doing that. Let's see how well they gassed up this year, I suppose. 3 to Payne Haas.
No, I had 3 to Carrigan. I had 2 to Reynolds and 1 to Haas. But you want to go the other way? That's fine.
I'll meet you halfway. 3 to Carrigan, 2 to Haas, 1 to Reynolds.
Right, yeah.
Fair?
Done.
Then we got to the first Super Saturday of the year, and one of the new look allegedly teams, the Bulldogs, turned up and got beaten 31-6 by Manly, who we've both turned the corner in the last 3 weeks, of course.
We have. I've even promoted them up into my top 8, to be honest.
I think if they all stay fit, they make the 8. Barney, stats.
Yeah, we had 5 tries to 1, 5 out of 5 conversions played, 1 out of 1 for the Dogs, and 1 out of 1 field goal attempts to Manly. They missed a penalty goal as well. 37 out of 48 sets played, 25 out of 38. 400 plus running metres and 140 plus post-contact metres for Manly. 6 line breaks to 1, 29 tackle busts to 24, 6 offloads to 8, 4 forced dropouts from Manly, 2 from the Bulldogs. 0 40-20s, 281 tackles for Manly, 352 for Canterbury, 4 ruck infringements to 3, 0 inside the 10s for both teams, 4 penalties conceded to 9, 11 errors to 15, a sin bin to the Bulldogs. Lachlan Croker made 35 tackles, Reid made 51, Ruben Garrick with 194 running metres, and Perham with 165. DCE with 119 Supercoach points, Garrick with 110, Tom Trebojevic with 97, and the best of the Bulldogs was Reid Mahoney on 75.
Where do you want to start? Let's start with DC, because we love him.
He was brilliant.
How good was he?
Fantastic. He putting himself in position to take intercepts. He was putting blokes away left, right and centre. His kicking game was fantastic, as it always is. He's probably got the best kicking game in the comp, apart from the spiral bomb that a couple of guys have got that he doesn't. But he's pinpoint with his long kicks, his short kicks, and everything in between. Fantastic kicking game.
It's like he took early on this game. He's gone right. We've got a rookie fullback and a new back combination. So he was coming in and going, he's over there. I'm going to grubber it here. I'm going to grab it there. He's over there. I'll grab it back here, and just tormented him early. It was as close to a masterclass as you get, really, in halfback play, and he's the best supporting halfback in the comp. And him and Turbo have now done it for enough years where it's almost like every time Tommy has the ball in the middle of the field, DC
DC is
just
chasing
chases
him,
because there's something's coming.
Tommy's the same.
Or vice versa.
Yeah,
They all vice versa. I loved watching it. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was an absolute, as I said, masterclass from him. As a Queensland and potentially Australian half and captain, but he set the tone. Tommy was brilliant in his return. Went off for a random 3 minutes. I assume probably just go take a dump or something. But
I think they wanted him to have a rest, and then he was blowing up, and someone got copped the HIA, I think.
Oh,
and then he had to go back out there. So.
But he did produce 2 line breaks, 2 line break assists, a try assist, and a try. So
and did it all in second gear, realistically.
I was going to say, if someone playing at half pace, it was a great return. And as we know, that when he's in the field, they're a different team. But KO Weeks off the bench looks like he'll replace Dylan Walker appropriately. Added some
absolutely.
pace there. What else did you take away from Manly?
I was dominant from the first set of the game. They went there with the plan to physically just beat up the Bulldogs, and they did it in defence and attack on both sides of the ball, especially in defence. Some of the hits in this game were the biggest hits
I believe one
of the
S.
entire
Flanagan's
weekend.
the defensive coach.
Yeah, right. But some of the hits in this game, apart from probably the Dolphins game, were the biggest defensive hit, like the most physical defensive display that I saw on the weekend. Jake Trbojevic is a front rower. I think I've said it for a couple of years. But the way he just chops down the big guys when they're running through the middle of the field, and just like he was putting guys on their back.
Yeah.
Just absolutely tormenting the blokes that were running the ball. And you could notice that they started running away from him.
Yeah.
They were looking for him, and they were running in the opposite direction because they didn't want to run at him. Ola Kawatu and Tuolangi not so much running the ball, but he's got a nice little short pass on him. He puts the guy away on his outside, but Ola Kawatu was causing havoc on that right edge, running the ball, running over the top of people, being another physical display, ball in hand more so than in defence. But, they really rattled this Bulldogs team just physically for the majority of the game.
Yeah, this Bulldogs team. Oh, we'll start on the Bulldogs and come back. This Bulldogs team, so they went and bought Kickow, bought in Reid, who's great, and Ryan Sutton, who worked his absolute arse off, but they're not much different to last year as we've flagged, and they just got bashed. And after, it felt like even Billy didn't want to be there after about 20 minutes.
Half hour, yeah. They just did not seem interested at all after about half an hour. But they were really good for that first half an hour. Like, they were competitive. They were trying to give it us back as much as they could, but they just ended up getting broken with the speed of the Manly side as well. They are one of the quicker teams across the entire field by the looks of it, even from their small forwards to their outside backs. They are fast. And when they play flat and out the line, they're very hard to hold down, very hard to slow down, sorry. And, if they're going to put that kind of defence on against most teams, they're going to rattle a few of them as well. So I thought they were really good. As you mentioned, Sutton and Max King has to get a rap. Young kid making his way as a front rower. Definitely a very
thrown
good,
in as well.
very good front rower, and did a lot of work. Kiraz, I thought, was probably the best of their back line. He had a crack. He's one of those guys who gets a bit lippy and a bit physical, and he loves the rough stuff. So it seemed to bring out the best of him in this game, although his opportunities were limited. Whanamanu Brown, I'm not sure. He was hit and miss. He did a couple of nice things and then was physically dominated a few times as well, which doesn't help. Reid was easily the best dog player on the field by a mile. Like, his service was fantastic, and his defence, the amount of work that guy gets through, being one of the smaller blokes on the field, is tremendous. I don't know how he does it to himself week after week. I'm sure he'll know about it when he gets a bit
51
older.
tackles for him and 48 for Sutton.
Yeah. But that's what do you say? Flanagan was poor, but he was probably better than Burton, which says something. I think he actually added more than Burton did.
I had my concerns on Burton at the start of the year just because I feel like it's a hard thing to... I don't feel like he's a dominant half yet.
Yeah.
And I don't know what he then adds as a result. And, Hayes Perham, initial thoughts?
Yeah, he got caught out a bit, especially with the ball along the ground. I'm pretty sure he's a centre. I don't think he's a fullback, but you never know. Give him another month there. He may find his way and get that positioning. Give him, like, I'm sure if you give him plenty of decent ball in space, he's going to look like a flying fullback. But I just don't know if he has the technical side of the game down to be able to position himself properly in defence. And a lot of the time, when the Bulldogs did make a half break, he wasn't in shot. So whereas that's obviously one of the big things you want out of your fullback. So just not sure he's got that positioning side down yet. He may come back and make me eat my words and be one of the best fullbacks we've ever seen, but I'm not sure that's going to happen.
And as we're just giving opinions. We don't have any personal thing against them, and we hope they do come back and make us their words when we back.
Absolutely.
Because we like giving them raps too.
But yeah, like he's got all the attributes. He's fast enough. He's big enough. He's just really got to work on his positioning in attack and defence.
Yeah, I think and up against a maestro, it's hard to. You're not getting any settling. Yeah. I'm sure you would love to have had like Luke Brooks kicking at him for a game just to settle that down and get going. But two we haven't mentioned, Ruben Garrick, fantastic, just like outstanding pace, size, great goal
the
kicker.
flack we gave that we copped last year at the back end of last year when we put him in as our winger of the year. I looked even like I regret now not even giving him more thought as a super coach option. Just he's
off the bat
fast, he's strong.
You're going to get 5 goals. You're going to get
tries,
try breaks. You're going to get tries. You're going to get line breaks. He was outstanding, and we've been waiting 4 years for Paseka, and we got to see some of what he's capable of. And I think having some allies helped, but obviously had the big try assist through the middle there. He busted him open, but some of his runs were damaging runs, like bent the line, got him going. And if he produces that every week, he's as we've talked about, he's your first hit up prop, and he sets a tone for everyone else. So
I think he's sort of forced to be now. He's probably the biggest easily in that pack, and now you don't have Tapau there and a couple of others. He's now definitely
probably him, then Bullimore, and then they're all about the same.
Kepi was strong.
Yeah,
I thought it was one of Kepi's better games that I've seen for a little while.
Great signs. Well done.
Absolutely.
Well done, Seabold. Well done, Flanagan. Well done, everyone. 3 to DCE. I agree. I think genuine top 8 now, Manly, and Bulldogs bottom 4. Until I see otherwise.
Be sniffing around there. Yeah. It's 2 games in a row. They've copped a lot of points without being. Great.
Like blowtorch or Flanagan has been, and they know that. We might see apparently Olapu, the young fella from Queensland, destroyed reserve grade. So,
other one they got from the Broncos, Olapalutu.
So we may see him sooner rather than later. I think they'll give him a month, and then put it this way, Gus isn't going to mess around.
Well, they're not going to hurt having a bit of size and pace in the middle of the field. Give Max King a bit of help.
I think Burton needs a dominant half to really bring out the best of him. And as I flagged it last year, even when they were winning those games, Burton's got the big bomb, and it feels a lot of the time like that's it. And sometimes I'm not even sure he knows where it's going. Like it's just.
I think the Dogs may still not be bottom 4. I still do expect them to improve, and maybe not improve, but still sort of maybe keep that 12 position.
Yeah.
In our preview show, I had him in 8th, and I had Manly at around 12th. Basically, I've swapped those 2.
Yeah.
And Manly may even push up to 6th or higher, but
Interesting one.
The Dogs for me have gone backwards in the last 2 games that I've watched them play.
Yeah. 3 points DCE.
Yeah, absolutely.
2 points Tommy.
I had Garrick.
Okay.
And then I had either Tommy or Reed, but
nah, stuff him. Let's go 3 to DCE, 2 to Garrick, 1 to Tommy. 5:30 game was 1918. The Cowboys in hot conditions up at Townsville, getting out of jail against the Raiders after leading 8-0 half-time. Barn, what did the stats say?
It was 3 tries apiece, 2 out of 3 conversions for the Cowboys, 3 out of 3 for the Raiders, 1 out of 1 field goal attempts for the Cowboys, and 1 out of 2 penalty goal attempts for Val. 36 out of 41 sets played, 28 out of 36, 400 plus running metres for the Cowboys, 2 line breaks to 3, 39 tackle busts to 29, 4 offloads to 8, 3 forced dropouts to 2, 0 40-20s, 301 tackles made by the Cowboys, 338 made by the Raiders, 1 out of 1 ruck infringements, or 1 ruck infringement each, 1 inside the 10 against Canberra, 5 penalties conceded to 6, 7 errors to 11. Robson made 49 tackles. Tapani made 39. Cotter with 216 run meters and Chris with 153. Reece Robson with 74 Supercoach points. Starling with 73 and Gula with 72.
Now, I'll be honest, this is a game I didn't get to go back and watch in full again, so I'll follow your lead here, Barn. But
yeah, right.
Out to the 18-point lead.
Should have been more. Should have been more. Cowboys started really well. They were on the attack for the majority of the first half, and they were making a lot of holes in the Canberra Raiders' defensive line. A couple of tries that sort of went begging early in that first half, to be honest. Dearden got pulled down just short. A couple of his support runners got pulled down just short or dropped the ball very close or over the line, and it could have been 20 plus, reaching into the high 20s come halfway of this game. But there was a continual string of errors and penalties from the Cowboys, and it just saw the Raiders come back into it. Couple of minutes before half time, and then a bit of a stretch straight after half time. Kyle Felt seemed like he was on a mission to just either destroy people or make mistakes, and he was trying to do both at the same time.
Like, it was just hot and angry people, or but Kyle Felt is Kyle Felt, but yeah, he was not a happy boy.
No, he wasn't.
Especially later in that
he
game.
came out on the short drop out and completely missed the ball where Whiten just strolled over to score, and there was a couple of other glaring errors from him in this game, but yet they didn't mark him down for one error. I don't know how that works or how they were watching him, but anyway, he made a couple of big mistakes, I thought, at different times. The Raiders got their their bench actually added quite a bit, which was one of my question marks of what was going to happen this year. Gula and Horsburgh came on and took the game by the scruff of the neck in the middle of the field. And Starling, yeah. Starling was instrumental in their comeback. He was the one that was getting them on the front foot, and then Gula and Horsburgh just followed up with the speed of the ruck, getting faster and faster, and yeah, they started to send the Cowboys scrambling in the middle of the field, which you didn't see all that often last year. So I thought that was really added some extra punch in the middle of the field, which helped them out. Their halves were steady without they lack creativity, those two halves.
Yeah.
We've said it a few times, and it's their issue. They got quite lucky with two, like the Starling try bounced off a couple of legs and popped back up, and he scored. The Whiten one where Felt just lost his mind and missed the ball by 5 metres, and Whiten walks over. So there's probably 2 tries that don't happen last year, and the game looks completely different when it's 19 or 18-6 at the back end of the game. But Drinkwater had a couple of really nice tries there.
Some nice touches first half as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought the Cowboys were extremely dominant in the first half and didn't really press that dominance as far as they should have, and it would have been a completely different game if they had. Sebastian Chris was hit and miss at fullback. Another one that needs to work on his positioning, but has all the attributes to be a decent fullback, and we'll see where they go with that. Tapane did his job, but he was nowhere near as effective as he was for large parts of last year. And Huira and Ira was probably the best of the starting forwards for the Canberra side. Bell Holmes and Tuolangi have got a really good combination going on that left side, and you'll see them tear teams apart at different times during the year, with Drinkwater chiming in and going down the right-hand side. Dearden was a bit hit and miss, but Chad was solid again, just got him around the field with his kicking game. Tamalolo was strong in the middle of the field, but the best 2 players on the field I thought were... close to the best 2 players on the field were Ruben Cotter and Reece Robson through the middle of the field for the Cowboys. They were quite dominant.
I'd almost suggest those 3 would be the way we would look at.
I'd probably put Starling in there. Well, I went with Robson 3. I thought Robson was the best player on the field. He was the linchpin to the majority of the attack that did come from the Cowboys. He sort of set it up first, and then the Drinkwater and Dearden would get on the back of that. And then I had Starling for 2, just the impact that he made for that Canberra side, because they were getting nowhere near the Cowboys without him on the field.
Yep.
Like, he came on and completely changed the game. And then you had Gula, who was probably flattered by a try, but did plenty of work. And then Cotter, who just works his backside off each and every minute he's on the field. So
How was Seb Chris at fullback?
Yeah, as mentioned, he's a little bit hit and miss. His positioning was was found wanting a couple of times
Yeah.
with the kicks in behind the line and that kind of stuff. He did sort of eventually get there, but he was that 2 or 3 steps away from where he probably should have been at times.
First time there.
Yeah, absolutely. First time there. He's got all the attributes to be a good fullback. Strong fellow, good, decent pace, and I think he'll be okay. But I'm pretty sure they'd be hoping they'd be wanting the old mate to come back. But
yeah. Have you got any? So there's more.
I don't
upside
think he's a long time fullback, to be honest. But he could to play there as a fill-in. I think he offers
more creativity than a Rapana, and
yeah, absolutely
he does.
For
more of that. He's more of an X factor, even though I don't say it this way, but like
he's going to be
B
able
plus
to
X factor
step
player
around
rather
people
than
and
he's not
push
James
people off.
Tedesco, but he's going to try more than a Rapana or someone in the same mould. But you're saying lots more upside end of the day for the Cowboys.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they should have won this game well, and they'll probably be pretty disappointed with what they did. Another team where the line speed wasn't quite where it was last year. Obviously, that comes down to match fitness and
probably,
that kind of
yeah,
stuff.
I think another one, because you'd argue they gassed out in that. Well, they did have probably the toughest of the finals last year. They went quite deep, but I think they're going to have more. Peyton's coaching for September rather
Slow
than
it down a little bit at
round
the start
1,
of
2,
the
and
year.
3.
Yeah.
So I think, and Penrith the same, and Robbo's the same, and Bellamy's
I'm
probably
hoping
the
the
same,
Sharks are the same.
and the Sharks are the same.
They were not impressive, but we'll get to that.
So I think you always give more tick upside to getting to Origin, getting through that for a team like this. Upside for Canberra is what you see, what you get, and
I'm pretty sure what you see is what you get
Yeah.
out of this team. You'll have Papali'i coming back will make a big difference. Tapane was nowhere near his best, so they can be dominant through the middle of the field when they have those two guys on deck and playing at their best. But yeah, I think they just struggle for creativity for mine.
Yeah,
the Raiders. So.
What can I say? But what you see is what you get. So 3 to Robson, 2 to
I had
Starling, and 1 to Cotter.
Yep.
27 to 18, as I didn't save my notes here. That's good. 27 to 18 was the score Saturday night, 7:30, as the Bunnies beat the Sharks. Physical game, high intensity game at times. Not so much line speed wise, but they were in each other's faces a lot.
They were.
And we talk a little bit at times about breakout games, and Lachlan Ilias arrived as a first-grade halfback today, or in this game. So that was cool to see. What did the stats say?
Yeah, we had 3 tries to 4, 3 out of 3 conversions, played 4 out of 4. 1 out of 1 penalty attempts for the Sharks, and for Souths, and 1 out of 1 field goal attempts for the Souths. 25 out of 39 sets, played 31 out of 41, 290 plus running metres for Souths, 4 line breaks to 6, 23 tackle busts for the Sharks, 52 tackle busts for the South Sydney Rabbitohs, 6 offloads to 4, 0 force dropouts, 140-20 for the Sharks, 355 tackles played, 339, 1 ruck infringement to 0, 0 inside the 10s to 1 against the Rabbits.
I didn't realise that.
5 penalties conceded from both teams.
Who was refereeing? Sorry.
Tom, your mate, Tom.
Yeah, good bloke. Does a good job, except you get one wrong.
He got a few wrong in this one. But yeah, 14 errors to 12 and a sin bin for Wade Graham. Brayley made 50 tackles. Murray made 51. Talakai made 201 running metres. And Campbell Graham made 198 running metres. Campbell Graham ended up with 110 Supercoach points. Ilias with 85, Murray with 84, and then 2 other Souths players before you got to Will Kennedy on 70.
And both Ilias and Campbell Graham probably should have had some try assists on top of that, where Colin Matangi got dragged down near the line.
Dropped one over
the line. There was another one out wide. Anyway,
Ilias probably should have got 20 points for punching the ball out of Mulatalo's hand.
Mulatalo. We have been pulled up.
Sorry, the Beaver.
Thanks to the Beaver, who has said we've is Mulatalo.
Get rid of the N. Mulatalo, yes. And there was
good game of footy.
There were 2 big moments in this game, and the first one was the Ilias punch out of the hand from Mulatalo when he's all but over the line and should have scored, been the first try scored in the game, and the forward pass from Braden Trindle to Katoa that was nowhere near forward, and he strolls over in the corner. So there's a 10 to 12 point swing, or 8
and I think
to 12
the
point
first
swing,
one,
depending on kicks.
they marched upfield and
yeah,
scored.
and then Ilias went down the other end of the field and scored in the next set of 6 after saving a try.
Grubber, but, and good on him. But
no, he was fantastic.
He was
his defence for me. He rattled a couple of blokes hitting in underneath the ball, and he's not a big guy, but he's definitely worked on his defence in the off-season.
I assume it's a confidence thing, and I assume they've spent this year probably pumping his tyres up a lot. I'm only guessing.
Well, they let him control that right side,
but they played right side the whole time.
Absolutely.
It's like they went, oh yeah, we've got the Australian centre over there.
Yeah.
He might touch a ball today. Who was fantastic.
We've got another pretty good winger out there. We've got a massive second rower out there who can do damage.
And then Latrell popped up there as well, just in case, when they needed him. I thought that was a great statement from them, because we know the left side is what it is. And to do that, it's just...
No, you've got to stop us here, there, and everywhere else.
I think
it does help that Moylan's defending out there against
perhaps that was a conscious decision. You're right.
Yeah, Campbell Graham said somewhere that it wasn't, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was, because if you go back and look at it, I think Talakai missed about 7 tackles, Moylan missed 7 or 8, Teague Wilton missed 7 or 8. Like those corridors that teams run down on the edges of the defence, on the outside of your halves and your second rowers and your centres.
Yeah,
there was 30 odd missed tackles out of 50, and it all came in those on both sides of the field.
But
down
living
those
in a
tram
comp where
tracks.
8 teams out of 10 play left side predominantly anyway, for them now to switch to the right is, I think it's cool, but it's such a clever play, because now you're putting.
And they gave him Murray as well, who made a massive difference. Who was helping him? He was ball playing with him, or he was being his lead runner on his outside, which made a massive difference and freed him up quite a bit on that defensive line.
Yeah,
I don't know how many times Talakai shot off the line to try and cover Moylan, and then Moylan tucks in behind him, and they just tries. Kevin Graham has scored points. I've been saying it forever, but I'll keep saying it.
But the problem is, it's now exposed and it's out there.
Absolutely.
And teams, you can't tell me Parramatta won't be watching it this week.
Talakai's jamming in, and the winger's staying on his wing and not jamming in with Talakai, and then there's just holes everywhere. So they're obviously going to have to fix that. You can't go missing. Like, this is the Sharks of old. 14 errors and 50 odd missed tackles. This is why they missed the 8 2 years ago, because that's exactly what they were doing. They were missing 50 tackles in a game and making 12, 14 errors a game, which you just can't do. You're not going to beat realistically anyone with those kind of stats. So they were very good in attack at different points. There was only flashes of it, but both teams were really crisp in their attack at different points. And I thought probably two of the betting attacking teteams in.
Kennedy had some nice touches.
Yeah, Trindle had some very nice touches as well.
Almost, it was that half break-it game for Trindle.
Yeah, absolutely.
He carried him here, really did. And whether that is just exposing Moylan now or not, I'm not sure. But
I've been looking for a replacement for Moylan for a long time. So how about Nico goes to 6 and Trindle can play 7? But anyway, they'll work that out. I don't get paid to do it, but I'll tell them if they ask.
We've offered our services.
I've pretty much gone through a whole heap of what we've talked about here. Souths look fit and fast, and the fact that they had 2 forwards go down in the first half and will still look the fitter team at the back end of the game really bodes well for them going forward.
Yeah.
I think that just really cements them into a top 4 spot now, to be honest.
And they do get a couple of cosy draw periods as well, which and they can trust. They're going to trust. They're only going to really lose. Well, we'll see what happens with
Latrell and Murray
in hooker-wise, but you're probably only going to lose Latrell and Murray through Origin, which you should be able to cover.
If Cook keeps playing like that, man, Cook was fantastic.
Yeah, and Appy might
Cook
be out
was
of a job.
Fucking tremendous in this game.
But I agree. I thought they looked the crispest team we saw in all the trials, and Exodus is fantastic, and they've bought it again, and I'm excited for them. I think I don't know what the prices are, haven't looked, but they're not the worst bet for minor premiers, because you know what you're going to get.
Yeah, like as we mentioned, Trell's knee issue looked like a problem, but he's been named, so it should be fine. Rudolph was pretty good.
He had a mate in the front row that he didn't like every time he was kicking for goal.
There was a couple of them
in the crowd.
Yeah, Walker was in there as well.
Yeah.
Giving it to a few Sharkies fans obviously had a bit to say to him. But yeah, Rudolph, Brayley, and McGuinness were probably the best, or the standouts for the Sharks in the forwards. Trindle started well with a few nice touches, but sort of went missing a little bit towards the back end of the game. But they didn't have a lot of possession because they kept dropping the fucking thing and missing tackles. So that'll come back to bite you in the ass. I thought Cheekham was pretty strong, as was Shaq Mitchell at different stages in the game, without dominating. But yeah, it was Matangi, Murray, and Graham. They were first class.
Matangi, we haven't touched on him yet. He could have scored 3 tries himself.
Missed 2 tries and scored 1.
Yeah, but he was outstanding and could have 2 try assists. He was enormous. They're in a great spot, South. So they could almost be the team I'm most excited to watch this year.
Yeah, me too, to be honest.
And they'll go and play some of the other geeks down the road, and they'll wipe them off the paddock.
And Cook and Ilias were just a different. Yeah, they'll shut teams out. They'll beat teams 30-40-0.
Yeah.
Sharks had to put on some good plays to get points in this game. Like their defense was quite good, as well as them being pretty sharp in attack. So Cook and Ilias were the difference makers. They were the best 2 players on the field.
Cam McGuinness only playing half hour. Is that a concern, or?
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there, to be honest. I think they were just trying to get
lost.
Wade Graham on the field for some reason, and then he came on and knocked someone's head off. But he was decent when he was on there.
McGuinness half hour.
Kafusi was okay. But yeah, there's again the same sort of story for the Sharks the last few years. I thought Finucane was probably ineffective, and he's starting to get towards the back end of his career, and so is Wade Graham. So might be another couple of blokes that are sort of getting towards the back end.
You got Hazelton up your sleeve,
just like your Fafita and Tolman last year. But
they hang along a long time.
Yeah, they're pretty loyal, the Sharks, when they have someone that's been there for a while.
But Hazelton, you almost feel like he needs to be in this team.
Front row had that bit of size.
Yeah, they get
Royce Hunt back this week, which he'll make a difference.
Like Hamlin, Ueli, Hazelton should be a better player, shouldn't he?
Possibly, but he's an older player as well. I think
he's
sort of
mid-20s
as well.
Been
playing country comps for a long time.
As a Sharks fan, where are you sitting with?
Oh, really disappointed in the missed tackles. The missed tackles was the thing that got me.
How far is Talakai away from being moved back to the middle? Is the other thing if they do need to?
Still realistically only making those. He's made 200 metres, but it was doing the forward work. So I don't know, surely there's a better option in someone like your Kyle Iro or someone that can come on and play centre.
And have some footwork and some
have
pace.
some footwork and some pace and actually link up.
Just put him back into 12.
Even when they do go down that left-hand side with Talakai, he generally just puts the ball under his wing and runs it. And if he does make a break, then he'll pass it to Mulatano on his outside. But he's not drawing players and passing. And he does it occasionally, but he's generally a run-first sort of option rather than being a link player or adding sort of anything overly creative.
And we're heading towards an era where, if they play Manly and he's got a Mark Cooler, you'd be shitting your pants all the time, wouldn't you?
I would imagine so, especially if Boylan's on his inside.
Yeah, so it's we're now in you need pace and size.
And he doesn't move laterally that well at all.
Yeah. I think Will Kennedy might almost have been one of your best attacking options.
He was. He definitely was. Yeah.
We're going to say 3-2. So, and South's we've both said it.
Well, Ilias gets man of the match in this game.
3 to Ilias, 2 to Cook, 1 to Matangi.
I had either Murray or Graham, but
yeah. Oh no, we didn't. Yeah, Campbell. So I saw stuff during the week about people who were still bagging Campbell Graham.
Oh, Campbell Graham. Yeah.
Well, who was bagging Cam Murray? Who?
No,
I'll fight him.
I thought you were going to say someone was bagging Cam Murray.
No, can't find him. My finger's still fucked.
How could you fucking...
Campbell Graham
he was fantastic in this game.
He was outstanding in the... Anyway, doesn't matter.
It's one of the best defensive centres in the game.
Yeah.
And now they're going to start giving him some ball. Fucking watch him go.
As I said, he could have got 140 Supercoach points in this game if he's passes stick and he gets another try there. He was dragged down once where they just popped out. Anyway, fantastic. So actually, no, you're right. Give him 2 points. And 1 to...
No, I had Ilias Cook and then either Graham or Cam Murray. But I don't think you can underestimate what Cook did in this game.
Elaborate, will you?
When the Sharks were still playing quite well and it was a close game, he just ratcheted up that ruck speed again. He ran fast more often than I've seen him run for quite some time, and when he did it, he was extremely effective.
It has to be a fitness thing.
Whether he was getting out and he might not run it all the way himself, but he was getting around the markers to the defensive line and then having a forward on his outside who would hit the line and take another 5 metres.
Yeah.
Another quick play the ball, quick service to the outside. I thought Cook was fucking tremendous in this game, and if it wasn't for Ilias saving a try and then scoring one a couple of minutes later, I probably would have given Cook man of the match, to be honest.
All right, 3 Elias, 2 Cook, and 1 to Campbell Graham. I bet you want to be it, don't you?
I do.
And then Sunday happened, Barney. We lost our grand final, which didn't go down well, but
No.
luckily I don't remember any of it.
Bees did. They went down fine.
I drank a lot of piss afterwards, as you did. I am supposed to be wearing Ollie's hat.
Yes.
And completely honest, I don't know where it is.
Sorry,
Someone's got
Ollie.
it. It'll be around. If I don't, I'll fix you up, Ollie. But anyway, I'll wear a Titans hat next week. Because fuck knows
He's
where
not
it
going
is.
to give you another one.
No, I know. I'll buy it. That's right. But then what happened is the Dolphins made the NRL to do in front of 35. So it was, I think it was 3 sellouts this week.
Right.
No, 2 sellouts, 35K at Suncorp. I don't know if Leichhardt was sold out.
Sharks
it
were
was close.
sold out.
Yeah, the 2 Saturdays were sold out. And then record ratings across the board, round 1. So NRL's going all right, which is great. It's fantastic. And probably the 2 best things that happened was Penrith getting beat in round 1 and Roosters getting beat in round 1 by the debutant Dolphins, because every team gets a little bit of a sniff, and it's exciting. Exciting time to be a fan. It's exciting time to watch footy. Like I said, we've done this series. We're in our 4th year now.
Yep.
And how many bludger games do we used to have to talk about? Well, there hasn't been one yet, which is
not
only
yet.
we're only one round
Not
in.
yet.
But it's exciting. It's
Yeah, I think this year's probably going to be the tightest competition that we've seen in the 4 years that we've done this podcast, and yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it does play out.
You could sit here and tell me any team but maybe 4 will make the 8, and I go, that's a fair argument, or vice versa. I could sit here and tell you why the Tigers make it. You'd tell me I'm wrong, but I wouldn't be too far off the mark. I don't think.
We'll get to them.
You'll get to them in a minute. But more importantly, why will the Dolphins make the 8? They probably won't, but fuck, they came out firing in this game. The crowd was behind them, which was unreal. And it turns out that W. Bennett fella can coach rugby league. So he got him up and going, and they put away a Roosters team that played like shit.
Well, they've been riding on the back of a whole heap of emotion. First game, all the rest of that kind of stuff. So don't be surprised if you do see them crash back to earth this week. And I'm not saying they're going to come out and have a bad performance, but don't be surprised if you see them get them
double. I think they're playing someone
beaten by
reasonable this week.
Raiders.
Which makes me think.
But their forward pack was tremendous. Both their halves played quite well. Katoa had a rough start to the game, but by the end of it, he was looking like close enough to a first grade 5'8", and Sean O'Sullivan played a fucking fantastic game at halfback. Their forward pack dominated and had this Roosters forward pack on the back foot for large parts of this game.
And we said this in our preview when everyone was giving them favourites for the spoon. Bennett's not an idiot. He went out and went, okay, haven't got this many dollars, having this player. You know what I'm going to do? Go and get 4 international forwards. They're all at the back end.
Yeah.
Give them all a payday. Come up here, and you'll be around the club for the next 15 years. And you're going to tell everyone a story of how we won this first game.
Show everybody else how to do the job. And I don't think I've seen Kafusi put on some big shots, but I don't think I've seen him put on as many in one game as he did here. And he was leveling blokes left, right, and
I also don't remember him. I do actually. I was thinking when he used to have hair, but doing the old luai afterwards and standing over him and get up, you dumb shit.
He was well and truly on, and he left his mark on the cheese. He left his mark on a couple of other blokes. And the way he was hitting too. And I don't think I saw more spilt ball out of really good shots in defence.
Up and under. Yep.
Up and under. Coming in, starting at the hips, hitting the bottom of the elbow or hitting the bottom of the ball and just forcing their way through the tackle. A la Trevor Gilmeister back in the day, and the ball would just go flying, and the bloke would be on the ground going, holy shit, that hurt.
David
Gillespie. Where's the ball?
Yeah.
Cement Gillespie. Jake Trbojevic, another one that's really good at that style of defence. But it was a hallmark of what they did in this game, and they were physical from start to finish. And it rattled the Roosters, especially in the middle of this game of football. The Roosters probably did have the dominance early, 10 or 15 minutes, but they didn't make them pay. Again, Walker to me was not Walker. Keary to me is a worry, but we'll get to that in a minute. We had 5 tries for the Dolphins, 3 to the Roosters. 4 out of 5 conversions played 3 out of 3. 36 out of 46 sets for the Dolphins and 24 out of 35 for the Roosters. 350-plus running metres for the Dolphins, 5 line breaks from both sides, 32 tackle busts played 33, 13 offloads to 6, 3 forced dropouts for the Dolphins and 1 for the Roosters. No 40-20s, 336 tackles played 348, 1 ruck infringement against the Roosters and 1 inside the 10 against both sides. 2 penalties conceded by the Dolphins, 7 by the Roosters. 12 errors to 14 and a sin bin for the Roosters. Gilbert made 42 tackles, Nat Butcher made 44. Hamiso made 192 running metres and Tupu made 179 for the Roosters. Asako with 108 Supercoach points. Jeremy Marshall-King with 89. The Professor, Mark Nichols on 83, and then 3 other Dolphins players before you got down to Lindsay Collins on 66
amazing? Isn't that
Supercoach points.
Where do you start? Yeah, let's start with their forwards. Let's start with Kafusi, as you're saying, and we'll go from there. But they set what a platform! Like, come out and own, just set a statement. So this, all you kids watching a reserve grade probably sitting in the stand. Your add it to the list, GT. Lumeli on the bench and your kids on the bench. This is how we are going to play first grade. Get on board, boys.
Tough, uncompromising, in-your-face football, and they played it for the majority of this game. And if that's their brand of footy they're going to bring every week, they're going to rattle some teams. Win, lose, or draw, they are going to
if you're not going to be the team that's going to wipe teams off the field, be the team no one wants to play.
Yeah, it's a team that you're just going to
We've got to
go get bashed by the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Fuck. We might win, but they're going to bash us.
Yeah.
They were uncompromising. They played from the start of the game till the end of it. The Roosters seemed interested for about 15 minutes in the first half and the last 15 minutes when they were trying to jag a win. But in the middle, it was just all the Dolphins. I don't know what it was with the Roosters, whether they were just trying to go through and sort of set up the way that they're going to play for the rest of the year, but there did not seem to be any sort of out-of-the-box thinking.
I don't actually know how they want to play for the rest of the year. Because even Tedesco wasn't his usual supporting self. But he never had his... he's always at sniffing in the ruck, back there. He wasn't there a lot of the time.
They weren't going through the ruck.
Well, that's
I don't
true.
think they wanted to go through the ruck.
That's what Cheese is doing.
Cheese got belted. Kafusi lined him up, and just about every time he ran the ball and flogged him.
And then Kiri's, I don't mean this in a flippant way, but you're Kiri and Radley, who there's every chance they'll be medically retired by the end of the year. Like Radley knocked out again leading with the wrong.
Yeah.
Leading
tackling
on the wrong
with
side.
the wrong shoulder. Yeah.
And
Kiri too sideways, way too sideways. At least Walker straightens up and goes back into the middle of the ruck occasionally, doesn't mind taking a hit. Kiri just seems to follow that 45-degree angle out to his... And he jams up that corner, and then you've got Tedesco running around in circles, or Suwali running around in circles trying to find someone to pass to, or find half a break somewhere that they just didn't find. He'd be better off getting halfway through his run and either kicking or passing and letting the outside blokes do the rest of the work.
I know they're missing Guzzi as well, and I know they're missing...
They missed him tremendously.
And I just had more faith in the Butcher Boys defensively. I thought there was like some massive gaps that people walked through on both edges.
There was. Absolutely.
And I didn't imagine that Angus Crichton bought that. Well, I do, because he's an absolute superstar of the game. And again, hope he pulls through what he's going through. But fuck, they missed him. And then we saw it a bit. And our man. I've just forgotten his name. Siwa. Takiaho.
Yeah.
So you've taken out 500 games of first grade experience in the forward pack that just got bashed off the field, and you go, we'll bring Drew Hutchinson, that'll sort it out. Like, I don't know.
He wasn't the worst on the field, but you did, like, you saw Isako's and Hamiso, Tabuai Fido's play some of their best football. They're not going to do that every game of the year. There are those guys that sort of have 3 really good games and then they'll go missing for a game. But they were fantastic in this game. And Fidel played the way that Teddy normally plays. He was sniffing around everything, backing up through the middle of the field, getting involved in the shifts to the edges. And I thought he had a tremendous game. Jeremy Marshall-King was Outstanding. Best player on the field, I thought, by a long
Agree.
way. Just tore the middle of that field apart, especially with the second try there for Hamiso, the Dolphins' first try in the competition, and did it time and time again. Just made bulk meters through the middle of the field, terrorised the markers and in behind the play of the ball, and yeah, it was a big reason why the Dolphins were on the front foot for large parts of this game. Yeah, I already mentioned I've got worries about Kiri. I thought Suwali and Tupu did their jobs, but they can really only do their jobs with the kind of service that they were getting out of this one. Kiri looked very one-dimensional. I thought Turpin looked okay when they brought him on. He actually added a little bit. But
I feel like
they probably don't use him that way unless Cheese doesn't get
but in trials he
head.
played 5'8" and he's got more of a license. I feel like he'll be more creative than you see. But like in this game, it didn't mean that. But
Nat Butcher was good, and Lindsay Collins was the best Roosters player on the field, I thought.
Yeah.
Considering we've given him a bit of stick throughout the time.
But as I said in that Supercoach show, I feel like it's a year for him.
Yeah. Kafusi we've already mentioned Kafusi, he was brilliant. Gilbert was fantastic also. Kenny Bromwich, Mark Nichols, going to be a cult figure up there, I would imagine. The professor, the GOAT, whatever they want to call him, scored a try in his first game for the Dolphins. So we'll see how he goes for the rest of the season. I mentioned Katoa struggled early but got better towards the end. And Asako and O'Sullivan were the other two standouts for the Dolphins. I thought Sean O'Sullivan had probably close to the best game I've ever seen. For anyone who listened last year, the games that he did fill in for Penrith, I had massive raps on him then. I had massive raps on him the year before when he was filling in at times. And he's a quality first-grade halfback. And when there's probably only 7 or 8 of them out there.
You know what? He's going to he's got 4 years now to make a statement.
Absolutely.
So
he's a little bit older, but I'm pretty sure you're going to see it now. So.
Yeah, absolutely. You've summed it up very well, man. I've got a lot to add. I thought the crowd was fantastic. I thought the atmosphere fantastic. It came through the TV.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Great to see all the Finns up there. I thought Vossi encapsulated the moment well, as he does. Even threw in a hey diddle diddle just for Ollie.
Loves a superlative.
He does love a superlative. Sometimes he runs out of superlatives. But anyone else want to wrap? Yeah. But like they just recruited really well for a team that apparently hasn't recruited well.
They couldn't get any.
Ewan Aitken
big
was good.
How good was
Great.
he? Yeah, absolutely.
Teddy stood up on 1 point, but apart from that, he was fantastic.
Cemented himself now to play centre for the rest of the year for him. And then if they find another centre, he'll go into the back row and do just as good a job.
And I am full of praise for what they've achieved. I will treat them as someone who's going to be in that
going to cause
8,
problems.
9, 10, 11
It's going to cause problems for those teams.
Like I said, very interested when we get to our preview show as to what I tip when they play Canberra, because I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll think about that. There's not a lot I wanted to. You talk about Lindsay Collins. I don't really have a lot to say. You've encapsulated Roosters as well. I have concerns, but we had concerns last year and they came good.
Yeah.
They'll probably realistically finish 6th or 7th. No, they might get beat the next 4 weeks, but then they'll beat up some teams. Manu's back helps.
Well, everyone was saying that we're going to finish first. I said it myself.
So did I, yeah.
Manu comes back is a massive in for this team. I don't think they realise how big he is for them. We did tip him to run first before Crichton went missing, which does probably maybe bring him down a peg or two, but they've got the team to still be up and around.
They come out with by 40 this week. Here we are.
At the top end, pointing into the competition. So
absolutely.
See where they come after. They've never. Can't remember the last time they started well or won round one. So
no, I think it's been 6 years. I think anyway, something like that. 3 to JMK, who's been upgraded to initial status. So well done for you. 2 to Kafusi. And where do you go next?
Kafusi put some really big shots on, but for me, I don't know if he did the work that. Like some of the other forwards did a lot more work than he did. I know he pumped the game up and he had a really big impact at different times, but I thought O'Sullivan probably deserved the 2 points. I thought he had his hands on everything, and then it was either Asako or Kafusi for the 1. But I know Osako was flooded with a couple of tries, which, always pumps up the stats and all the rest of that. But
Yeah.
Kafusi won.
Yeah, let's go with that. Got that, Greg? And then the round wrapped up at Leichhardt Oval with all the hope in the world. Full house, filled the hill. And the more things change, the more they stay the same. 22-10. The Titans beat the Tigers, and for 60 minutes, I felt like the Tigers weren't going to lose. So that was weird, but anyway, it happened. We watched it, and tell us some stats.
Tigers should have been fucking 20 in front after 25 minutes.
About 10 minutes, really, but
oh, mate.
I don't think you've... Anyway, we'll get to that.
Tigers 10, Titans 22, 2 tries to 4. 2 missed conversions for the Tigers, 3 out of 4 for the Titans. 1 out of 1 penalty attempts for the Tigers. 30 out of 42 sets played, 25 out of 33. 300-plus running metres for the Tigers. 6 line breaks to 2. 47 tackle busts to 33. 20 offloads to 4. 3 forced dropouts to 0. How do you lose that? Anyway, 0 40-20s.
There were quite a number of ones where, somehow Tigers got the hand under the ball or over the ball and had the last touch. But, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
291 tackles, played 331. 1 ruck infringement against the Tigers, 3 against the Titans. 1 inside the 10, played 2. 3 penalties conceded by the Tigers, 9 by the Titans. This is probably how they lost it. 14 errors to 9. Yep. 12 with 45 tackles, Stimson with 41, Laurie with 219 running metres, and David Fafita with 206. Tui was the top of the Supercoach points on 89, David Fafita on 83, and Twal on 70.
Am I supposed to talk?
No, I can talk.
No, I can talk. I sat here and watched the first 20 minutes, and this forward pack just monstered the Titans, monstered them into obscurity as they couldn't get off their line. But classic Tigers, 20 minutes in, all of a sudden, we've got a breakaway, and down they go and score, and then score again. They've done a sensational effort recruiting this forward pack, and it looks like a superstar forward pack. It did in this game, at least. Until Mo came on the field, and Mo actually rebalanced it. I thought he was sensational, Mo, off the bench. Yeah. He was fantastic. He took them on and gave it back. But Clemmer, in his first game, was outstanding. I think nearly, what did you say, 200 run metres, 180 run metres, 40. He didn't miss a tackle, 40 tackles, and Twal getting a starting spot, which I don't know why it happens. It's happened every week for the Tigers for 3 years, but then he starts and plays 60 minutes, and he's just unbelievable. Didn't miss a tackle, 45. They owned it, but the typical thing is the more they say the same, is where no one actually then knew how to get us from that to scoring some points.
Yes.
Which seems important in the game of rugby league, I've learned. I actually thought Luke Brooks looked dangerous running the ball. I thought they're on the right track with how they're going to get him to play.
A couple of nice short kicks.
He hasn't used it for ages, but he has that inside-out grub where he grabs back to the post. He used to use it for Tedesco a long time ago. I actually think, and he worked hard, but I actually think Tigers' first port of call now they've got $1 million to spend should be to go and find a fullback. I think that's now... Laurie's defensive decisions probably cost us 2 tries.
Yes.
There's a grubber who's in the wrong spot. And a bomb, he doesn't like to, for whatever reason, he won't defuse bombs.
Not happy under the bomb.
And we've got Staines there, who is a capable tradesman who could, but doesn't offer the same in attack.
Seems to trip over his own feet a bit.
But I like you got $1 million to spend. There's a bloke that is a Dally and fullback of the year sitting in New Zealand that wants to come back to rugby league. Go and get RTS. Go and spend some, but we've got the money. We've got 600. I think we've got 600 still in the cap this year. But they need an X factor. They don't have it. Dewey was good. Didn't touch the ball probably enough in a lot of ways. Played a bit...
too sideways. So did Luke Brooks.
They both...
They really need...
They both sort of roosted up a bit, and they both ran to their corners.
Yeah, absolutely.
They had no one to straighten through.
And nobody was dropping back on the
inside.
And
the other whale in the bay is Appy didn't come on the field till half hour in the game, and by that stage you're down by 10, and it's like... And we looked... I wouldn't say we even looked better with him on, but he straightened them up. No. But we know what can happen.
He did for probably the first 5 or 10 minutes he was on, and then just sort of went back to normal transmission.
Yeah.
The one big takeaway for me is they need Papali'i, Bateman to drop back inside their halves when they are doing that float across the field looking for their outside men, and it stops the defence from just
Go
continually
and watch
sliding.
Murray and Ilias is probably it, or something. Yeah.
Because otherwise the defence just slides off, and bundles them over into touch, which happened how many times?
Yeah,
or stopped them in a corner.
Yeah.
When you've got your big second rowers dropping back on the inside and your dummy inside, it just holds up those inside defenders. Whether it's then the half goes himself and scores or draws the outside man and puts the guys on the outside away. So there's a few deception plays that they really need to work on in and around their halves there. But really ball in hand, it didn't look to me like there was many blokes that were going to break the line open and
they had
cause problems. You had Naden and
16% completion rate, which doesn't help. And there was, I think, a lot of that was unforced errors. No Faluma dropped the ball
like Naden looked like he was going to break the line. They should have just let him go to
Melbourne and start again with junior to Power or someone. Like there's still that thing, and it is the Tigers. There's still those things there. I thought Naden was Naden
looked like he was going to break the line a lot when he touched the ball.
And that can work.
And
Laurie tried too hard.
Laurie dropping back on the inside.
He had 3 or 4 drop balls.
Back through the middle, looked like he may break the line. But even though how much advantage the forwards had, they never looked like they were going to bust a hole and run over the top.
No.
They were just getting caught. They were making good meters and they were pushing them backwards, but they didn't look like they were going to bust the line open and cause, total chaos.
I think, the injury. It should have been a game they set the tone at Appy, set the tone the first 10 minutes. Hey, let's get up. Let's score a point in the first 10 minutes. Let's get up. Let's get him going. Whether it's from him, whether it's a crash play, whatever it is. And they didn't, and then he's coming on 10 down, so he's playing like a good hooker but doesn't have the front foot to play on. I know this week there's still no Bateman. Bateman's one that would swing back inside, I think, and just give you that, or at least almost play as a third 5'8" in some ways.
And he's got a decent short pass as well.
Yeah.
So if he does take that angle up and he's got other options in Laurie or somebody else around him, they really need a few more deception plays for mine because they just sort of fall off the halves, and they know generally Dewey's looking for his outside men. He's probably not going to run. He's going to run more than Brooks, but your better option is probably just to hold off and let him play to a corner, and same with Brooks on the other side. So sort of limits your options.
He still doesn't quite play as a full 5'8". Like he's still, like if he knew he had that big rainbow ball or something, that'd hang off a bit more, but he doesn't. He's still... You know what? He may as well fucking play fullback. I think the only reason he doesn't is because he thinks he's a 5'8".
Yeah, maybe.
Just put him at fullback and move on, and then go get
one of those two halves has to challenge the line a bit more than what they did in this game.
I thought Brooks looked crisp and fast, but didn't do a lot. I've wrapped the 2 blokes who want to wrap Clem. I thought Clem was outstanding.
Yes, absolutely.
I'll give him a point, but we haven't even talked about the Titans, and we need to give them due credit when they weathered that storm. And they got when it pushed down to shove, they scored the points. AJ was brilliant. AJ back at fullback looked natural, had a bit more space. And
if you go back and have a look at pretty much all the points that the Titans scored, it was from that play where they were moving through the back line and sort of angling towards an edge. But it was guys straightening up. It was AJ coming back through the middle. It was David Fafita running that hard line through the centres. And that's where
Which has been AJ's go.
Where they busted where they busted the Tigers apart was that change direction back and against the grain, and you can't keep sliding. You now have to plant your feet and try and take the inside man, and it causes problems for the inside defenders if they're being lazy, which happened a couple of times in this game. Let's be honest.
Tommy Talau's defensive decisions weren't the best either. They did make a strong case for Stafford Toa coming back.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway. Yeah, Titans. And we can talk about something other than Tigers.
AJ was an absolute handful pretty much every time he touched the ball at fullback. I thought he was fantastic back there. And I actually really liked when they played Campbell at 5'8", because when he did come on, he played a bit of 5'8", and he was actually asking a few questions and linked with AJ a couple of times there, which caused problems for the Tigers. Foreign looked really handy until he started hobbling around.
I thought both halves did. I thought Tanner Boyd was good.
Yeah, he was. A little bit more controlling and probably not as much pressure as what Foreign did put on the defensive line. But it helps when Fafita goes on the other side of the field and wants to get involved and and run off his mate foreign at different times. So
Yeah.
yeah, made a big difference. Cam Pereira had a debut to forget. Poor bugger. The superstar in reserves for ages and had a brilliant trial match, but
he'll come good. They've
barely touched the ball.
They've got a nice team to play this
They
week.
missed 3 tackles and dropped it a couple of times, but yeah, that'll happen. I thought Jojo Fafita looked quite good at times. He made a couple of breaks down that side and looks like a good first-grade winger. Jolliffe, Stimson and Fodawaker were really good in the middle of the field and were the reason that the Titans were able to get back on the front foot sort of in the middle of this game when the Tigers' rotation came in and they sort of took over.
164 metres in 40 minutes. Like that's outstanding. Fafita 200.
Sean Bloor, HOA, obviously doesn't help.
Yeah.
Poor bloke can't seem to catch a break again. But my man in the match was probably David Fafita. I thought he had a couple of crucial touches.
I think he can get in his mind and he gets a sniff when he can feel, when he can
There's
bust
opportunities
it.
for him. But the fact that he went looking on both sides of the field and I think he made close to 30, high 20s in tackles and only missed 1 or 2. Did a bit more work than he usually does and was destructive with ball in hand. Dewey, easily probably the second best player on the field without a lot of help. And then I either had Clemmer or Mo for the one.
And I don't know how to split that because I want to make a good case for both.
Clemmer did it for longer.
I think Clemmer did. For the fact Clemmer played 70 minutes as well. Like I just thought, as a club debut, I wanted to see it tone. And what I like, and I think it's going to happen a lot, is that someone doesn't come off. So until he's completely cooked,
we'll give it to Clemmer. Clemmer can have the one.
And I'm sorry, Mo, because I love you. You know that. I think that's fair. We've said this about every game. Realistically, what finals hopes do these two bunch of geeks have?
Yeah, they're both struggling. At their best, I
think either team finishes 10th, you take it and be happy.
I think at their best, if they fall into a top 8 spot, it's been a brilliant year for them.
Or it's been like a AJ becomes Jared Hayne for a year, or Dewey becomes Brad Fittler. Yeah. Both teams need
somewhere between the bottom 4 and the bottom of the 8.
Yeah. That's it. That's been our wrap-up of round 1. We need to finish with our pot plant of the week.
Yes.
Barn, have you had a thought on this?
I have, and it was Felix Crossland for the Newcastle Knights. I think he played about 14 minutes and then spent 10 minutes in the sin bin as well. Missed a couple. I think he made 4 tackles, missed 2 or something, and had like 1 run for the game. So realistically, offered Sweet FA is probably a detriment to his side. He's probably even worse than having a pot plant out there. But
I'm going to upset some people and make my pot plant Matt Burton.
Right.
I
wasn't far off.
See a lot from it. So. With that, we've got a salute. Let's finish with the slap first. Barn, do you have a slap?
Oh, the edge defence for the Sharks. I already mentioned it. They've gone back to where they were a couple of years ago and missing 50-odd tackles. Just the Souths were waltzing past their second rowers and their halves at different times in this game. And, they missed so many tackles on the edges. If they want to be anywhere near the top 8, they can't be doing that week after week, considering how much they improved from 2 years ago to last year.
Yep.
And then they fall straight back into that again, first game this year.
I'm going to slap the Parramatta halves.
Right.
So Mitch Moses needs to wake the fuck up and get involved. And Dylan Brown, I hope, is not just going to camp on an 8-year deal and win some games. Get involved. So they get my slap and a salute. I'm going to... Well, I think there's only one. It's Wayne Bennett and the Dolphins. You've got to give the Dolphins a salute. What a start to the year. How good. How good to see a new club involved. How good to see the atmosphere
100%.
involved. How good to see Suncorp full. Yeah, I thought it was tremendous. And turns out the bloke knows a thing or two about rugby league. What are you thinking?
I'm going for the man of the match in that game, Jeremy Marshall-King. I thought he was outstanding. He was fantastic at the Dogs last year, and he's probably even played one of his best games he's ever played first up this year. So he set himself a high bar, and we'll see how he goes for the rest of the year. Right.
Beautiful. We haven't touched on... We'll wrap up. We'll talk about it in the other show. So that's been Footy and Frothies. Check out rugbyleaguemerch.com.au to buy some sexy hats, some sexy shirts, and some sexy steins. Check out PCTC on Facebook. And if you listen to this, the preview show will be up at the same time, so go and listen to that and see what we think about what's coming up next. We've got Disaster Class to talk about, got Supercoach to talk about, and we've got 8 very interesting games of rugby league. Thanks for listening. Talk in a minute, I suppose.
See you then.